Around 20% of the North Sea region's population live in rural areas, where a larger share of businesses are small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs. These businesses could be vulnerable to many uncertainties and challenges that digital transformation poses to them. This could include the struggle to keep up with the rapidly developing technologies, lack of awareness of their digital needs and potentials, access to new markets, scaling up, and cooperation in a transnational environment. To help SMEs to overcome these challenges, a change of mindset is needed. This is where the UOL 4.0 Challenge comes into play. UOL 4.0 Challenge is a project that runs in collaboration with the University of Lincoln, Com3, North Sea Region partners, Business Lincolnshire, as well as the local SMEs. The project involves SMEs presenting their digital challenges to the University of Lincoln students from the Operations Management module. The students then work collaboratively to develop a theoretically underpinned idea which could help to improve SMEs' potential for adoption of digital technologies and implementations of Industry 4.0. The students would then present this idea to participating SMEs and academics. It's then up to the SMEs to choose the digital solution that would work for them and decide whether to implement it or not. If you're a local business and have a digital challenge that our students can help you to solve, then please email ulchallenge@lincoln.ac.uk. Are you ready?
Good evening, everyone, and on behalf of our recently appointed Vice-Chancellor, Professor Neil Juster, could I welcome you to the University of Lincoln, or that is at least the University of Lincoln online, and in particular, the Lincoln International Business School. This is one of the highlights of our academic year when we join with everybody across the community to celebrate the work that our students have been doing with our small to medium enterprises. So not only are we celebrating the student work, but we're celebrating the relationships that we've built with the local Lincolnshire community. My name's Gary Ramsden, and I'm an associate professor in logistics and operations here in the business school. And it's my role really to pull everything together and to introduce colleagues as we go through the evening, and in particular the students as they give you a view on their work and give you the opportunity to vote for their work. So without further ado, let's turn our thoughts to the agenda for this evening. Just waiting for the slide. Thank you. Introduction by me, nearly over, you'll be relieved to know. We'll then have a short tribute to one of our students, Sean, who unfortunately passed away recently. More of that from my colleagues in a minute. Then Herbert, who leads the programme, will actually explain what the University of Lincoln 4.0 Challenge is, for those of you who've not been involved before. We've then got a series of 5 presentations, 5 minutes each from our students. And then we've got a follow-on presentation, which is really interesting, from Bashkim, who is in a very interesting role. I won't steal his thunder, but that role really developed from his work on this very challenge a couple of years ago when he was a student with us. There'll then be the all-important audience vote, and during that voting process, we'll invite our Pro-Vice-Chancellor and Director of the International Business School, Dr. Craig Marsh, to give us his thoughts on management going forward in the future. Then it will be our pleasure to present the prizes. Or the awards. There's no losers here. There's just 5 winners, really, but we have to put them in a rank order because of the associated process. And we aim to finish the evening around about 6:45. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to my director, Craig, and my colleague, Farhan, who is the head of Department of Marketing and Tourism, for their thoughts on Sean Darwood.
Gary, thank you so much, and good evening, everybody, and a very warm welcome to this fantastic evening that we've all been looking forward to so much. And I do look forward to coming a little bit later on and just saying a few words, as Gary says, just to link it into this project, into what we're doing as a university. It really is so important for us as a project, and really looking forward to hearing the student presentations of finalists. Before we do that, as Gary alluded to, it is my sad duty to acknowledge and commemorate the passing of one of our students on the 7th of January, Sean Darwood. Sean was a student, a second-year student on the Bachelor of Arts in Business and Marketing, and Sean, pertinent to this particular evening, was on one of the Challenge 4.0 teams before he passed away. And when one works in education for so long, these things do come around from time to time. Fortunately, really rarely. It affects us all, from the Vice Chancellor down. The entire university community is in mourning for Sean. And I wanted to reflect that this evening, that we are always shaken by a student's passing. Sean passed away in his sleep, for those of you who aren't aware, completely unexpectedly. The messages and tributes to Sean since then have been quite astonishing, actually. Clearly, I didn't know Sean personally, and in a few seconds I'm going to pass over to Farhan, his head of department, who had met Sean, and will say a few words about him. The words that I've seen on Sean have been astonishing, talking about an amazing human being, somebody who was always happy, somebody who clearly made a wonderful contribution to our community, both to our region, to the city. He was clearly a great sportsman. He was participating in this challenge. Clearly, Sean was somebody who was taking full advantage of his time at the University of Lincoln. And before I pass on to Farhan, I'd just like to bring up a slide where we asked his team just to acknowledge their reflections on Sean. And here's what his team said. In the short time we spent together with Sean as a group, we got a small insight into the amazing person he was. It was apparent that he was a well-loved and respected person among his peers. It's very shocking to hear this news, and we wish the deepest condolences to his family and friends. So here on behalf of all of the university community. And I know that it is possible that this evening is being recorded. It is possible that his mum, Zoe, may be listening to this. So I'd like, on behalf of all of us, to pass on our deepest condolences to Zoe, his mum, and to his family and friends, just in case that they happen to be listening to this. We are in mourning for Sean. I'd like to, if it's okay with Gary and Herbert, really to make sure that this evening is dedicated to his memory. And I'm sure the students who are presenting tonight, they always do their very best, but will perhaps put in that little bit of extra effort just in Sean's memory, and I'm sure that he would have appreciated that. So having said that, Farhan, can I just pass on to you and just to add any thoughts that you have on Sean? Farhan?
Of course. Thank you, Craig, and good evening to everyone. And sorry to be joining you under such a somber occasion, but it's an absolute pleasure to be here. As Craig has alluded to, I had the absolute privilege of meeting Sean, as he was one of my students in year 2 of his business and marketing degree program. And just a few words personally from my interactions from him. He was a complete gentleman in all of my engagements with him, and the impression I get from speaking to his fellow students, whether they be in the degree program or in the SU with whom I've also engaged with, I think the underlying impression that I get from Sean was that he was so positive, so friendly, completely committed to his university career, as is demonstrated by his participation in this Industry 4.0 project. But I think more significantly, the underlying impression I get from students is that he was just so engaged with making sure that everyone was achieving to their full potential, whether that be in their academic studies or whether that be in the sports environment, as he was very active, like you've alluded to, Craig, in the SU and the sports arena there. The final thing I just want to say is, having known Sean and having engaged with him, I think the one thing he would have wanted us to remember him by was first his positivity, but also the fact that he wanted to make the most out of his university career. And the fact that he sought these opportunities was a testament to his engagement and where he wanted to go in his career. And I think we should commend him for that under these sad circumstances. And as you have just said, Craig, on behalf of the department, I would like to also offer our heartfelt condolences to his family, and we are all in shock and sadness as to what's happened recently. But I hope this evening is a fitting tribute to Sean, and I wish all the groups taking part tonight the very best of luck.
Yeah. Thank you, Farhan.
Thank you. On that note, Craig, if I will now like to hand over to Herbert, who will be hosting the remainder of this evening for us.
Thank you, Craig and Farhan, for the tribute to Sean. Now we're moving on to the challenge. What I'm going to do in the next few minutes is just to explain what the UOL 4.4 challenge is. Now, this is an idea that is about connecting our students and the local businesses to work together. We believe that our students, even though they're still learning, they have something already that they can pass on to business. And while doing that, they have the opportunity to learn from businesses. On the other hand, we also believe that businesses, they can benefit from the input from students. Our students, they bring fresh eyes to the business. They look things through different lenses. They can see the blind spots that the companies may not be seeing. So we believe that is beneficial for the businesses and for the university. But also, I think the companies that we are working with, they all say that they want to give back to the community. Hence, they are working with us because they know that the students are doing their second year, and it's not always that they will be able to come up with some ideas that will be useful. So it's also to do about giving back to the community. So on that note, I'll just summarize the concept of Industry 4.0. Now, it is based on what we call the challenge-based learning educational strategy. And the idea, like I said, is to support our students and the local businesses in discovering opportunities concerning the digitalization of industry. So challenge-based learning can be done in different ways, but our focus is on using digital technologies. So what we do, we speak to the local companies, and then we ask them for challenges that require some digital technologies. So for our students, in terms of the goal, is to increase their employability by means of developing technology-based entrepreneurial and problem-solving skills, which should allow them to better deal with the cyber-physical systems. If we have observed what has been happening during the pandemic, we know that most companies have been connecting with their markets through digital means, through digital marketing platforms. And that comes within the scope of what we focus on this project. So for the business is to allow them to connect their new commercial ideas with their potential markets through the development and use of digital technologies. So just to summarize the challenge-based learning strategy, we believe that it is critical to developing the 21st century skills. Okay, when we look at the skills that students develop, it mirrors what is required in the 21st century workplace. As an example, our students work in teams, so they work collaboratively. Okay, they also work with the industry. They use technology that is commonly used in daily life, and they tackle real-world problems using multidisciplinary approaches. So at the point where they are still at university, they're already getting experience of solving industry problems. And then we share the results with the world. So whatever we do is published, is available for everyone. And in so doing, we are facilitating developing the skills that are needed in the 21st century workplace. We're going later on to hear from one of the alumni from the project about their experience, and that will confirm what the project has been able to do for some of our students. Just to explain a bit more about the challenge-based learning concept, in terms of structure, this is the way that we've been approaching it. So to begin with, we have what we call the big idea. So in our case, we're looking for something that is of interest to the local community. In this case, we came up about the need to adopt digital technologies to remain competitive. So that's what our big idea was all about. Now, the essential question is about the articulation of the big idea. This informs students about what is important to know about the big idea. So in our case, we are focused on how can we support local industry to adopt digital technology. This is quite important because at the moment we keep on hearing talks about increasing competitiveness, and we know that to do that you need to increase your productivity, and one area that can benefit in that is the use of digital technologies. They allow you to improve your productivity. So this is quite relevant in the time that we are living in. So from the essential question, we go to the challenge. So the challenge, what it does is that it translates the essential question into a specific task for students. It is on these tasks that the challenge that the students are working on right now. So what we've done, we've taken all the understanding of the big idea, essential question, and then we've formulated a challenge for our students. So what we're going to see when the students are presenting, they will start by presenting the challenge that they are focusing on, so that they provide the context of what they've been working on as part of the project. So after the challenge, we go to the guiding questions, and this is what they do. They point to the areas where the students should look for the solutions. In so doing, we are ensuring that when we come up with the solutions, they are going to be relevant, they are going to align with what the Kanban is trying to resolve. And we also have guiding activities. So in this project, what we've done, we've provided the students with the problem-solving processes as an example of guiding activities, but we also ran a number of workshops to guide them through the project. Now, in terms of implementation, we work with the Business Lincolnshire, which then can support the companies that want to implement some of the ideas from the students. Now, the last part deals about publishing. Everything that we do is published in the public domain, so it is available for everyone. Now, a quick scan of the challenges for this year. We have Hemswell and Dick Sanders. So it's about increasing brand awareness and sales on behalf of their dealers. So they provided 2 challenges, and each of the challenges got the guiding questions. Now, I won't go through this in detail because we are going to hear them from the students, but that has been the focus of their project. So the next company was Law Creative, again, alternative approaches to developing promotional materials. Okay, we're going to hear again from the students. We had in the laughter locker, then inbound marketing to develop brand awareness and attract new customers. And then the Welcome Helps. How can the business improve its online presence in a cost-effective way? So those has been the challenges that students have been working on. So now we're going to hear 5 teams through their team leaders talking about their experiences of working with their challenge company. The first presentation is going to be from Team B2 by Louis Knight.
Hi
Just
there.
waiting for Louis there. Okay.
Hi. Yeah, thanks for that, Herbert. So my name's Lewis Knight. I'm team leader for Team B2, along with Rihanna Holmes, James Shaw, Ingrid Vendasse, and Lewis Whittle. We were directed with the challenge presented to us by Hemswell Antique Centres. So I'll just talk you through who Hemswell are, the challenge itself, and the solutions we came up with. So go to the next slide, please. So first off, we needed to find out who Hemswell Antiques were. They're an antique centre in Lincolnshire. They're about 14 miles north of the university, and they've been in business for over 35 years. They deal with antiques ranging from advertising to militaria to fossils, really appealing to a wide market. And all these factors considered make them Europe's largest antique centre. Next slide, please. Fantastic. So the challenge itself was increasing its brand awareness and sales on behalf of themselves and their 400 dealers. And we were given several guiding questions to go along with this. So are we able to increase their reputation as an attractive tourist destination, showcase what they do in different countries, increasing the number they do virtual live tours with and how they live stream their media, and also increasing client conversion rates. So people who visit their website, see a social media post, how to convert that into an actual sale. So we'll go through the what we did, how we did it, and the outcome. So we're going to have the next slide, please. Fantastic. So first off, we knew who Hemswell were, but we didn't quite know what market they operated in and what kind of factors impacted them. So to give us a better understanding, we used 2 tools for analysis. We used the Towles matrix and the Pastel Analysis. Both of these provide us with a great insight as to the organization's strengths, their potential weaknesses, opportunities that we could really maximize on, and any threats that we might have to address when we were coming up with a solution. So we're going to have the next slide. So first off, we decided to brainstorm our solutions, and we immediately used mind mapping, which allowed us to split our ideas into 3 subsections under social media, the website, and the location of Hemswell itself. And as you can see on the mind map, there are several ideas that tie in quite nicely with social media and the website. So that's where we kind of start to gear towards. And then using the Lotus Blossom, we developed more ideas around the social media element, and using both these strategies formed our solution. So next slide, please. So first off, with the social media in mind, we assessed Hemswell's own social media accounts, and we also, as part of the challenge, made our own accounts. This way we could observe what posts were made by them and how interactive they were, how much the audience engaged with the posts, and how successful each one was. And it also allowed us to engage with our own audience, even developing the mind map that you saw previously, turning it into an infographic and posting it to our audience. And it gave us a great insight into what works, what doesn't work, what could be learned, and what could be developed. So again, with the next slide, please. So our first solution we came up with was actually to do with the website, and it's a landing page. So a landing page is something customer lands on immediately, or a visitor to a website would land on. And in short, snappy bits of information and images, it conveys a certain message, often to do with purchasing or making most of offers, and to convert any visits into direct sales very quickly. Next slide, please. The other strategy we came up with was an acronym we developed ourselves, which was called CURE, standing for Communicate, Update, Represent, Engage. And this was to do with the social media posts that we saw, not only from Hemswell, but from other organizations. Ones that were clear and had a clear message often did a lot better. Organizations that updated at the same time every week, or certain posts on certain days, had greater success. And also the representing of dealers and customers, as they had 400 dealers to represent and increase their sales on. We decided that if they could humanize these people, if they could show images of you're buying from so-and-so, that would really build that connection between customer and sale. And also engage with the audience. Any post that asks the audience a question or gets them to post a photo gets far more interaction than those which don't ask anything of their consumers. Next slide, please. So to decide upon this, we used performance objective mapping, and we compared the landing page strategy and our own CURE strategy. And we found that the landing page might be a bit more costly, and the CURE strategy might be a bit more adaptable, as also you're changing the kind of culture of a business and the way certain areas operate. We thought they're both quite dependable. They're both fairly flexible. Just the landing page might take a bit more time to get up and running. But beyond that, we thought both strategies were quite good. Sorry. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, we identified the social media and the website as areas to improve. And we assessed both landing pages and social media approaches as our CURE strategy as ways to kind of approach the issue that they faced. And we decided the best approach would be just to combine them, because no solution is one silver bullet that's going to solve everything. So the landing page would address the website and converting visitors in that scenario into sales, and the CURE strategy increased that engagement in the first place from anybody who saw any of their posts on social media. Next slide, please. And that's about it. That was the journey we took. That was the way we came up with the solution. And I hope that makes sense to everyone. Any questions, let me know.
Hi, I'm Jesse. I'll be presenting on behalf of Team G2. We were linked up with Waltham Herbs for this project. My partner was Jo Marie. She helped me make this presentation, as well as the rest of Group G2. Next slide, please. So our challenge objective was to help Waltham Herbs find an affordable way to grow their online presence. They've been a very successful brick and mortar shop for almost 20 years now, and they wanted to find a way to further expand their website and generate more traffic online. The business itself is a small family-owned plant nursery business, and they have a very wide range of plants, and they also dabble in crafts and landscaping services, and do a lot of their business by going to local farmers markets and other events where they sell their goods. Next slide, please. So the first thing that we did in order to understand the challenge and the business environment was we constructed a TOES analysis. We wanted to get a very strong idea of what Waltham Herbs' current online presence was like, and then also cross-analyze them with the external factors and the threats and the weaknesses to figure out exactly where they need help the most and what strengths they have that can be leveraged. So one thing that we found was that they have a very tight-knit local community. A lot of the people in their area really love them and their services, but their website is very behind the times compared to most other businesses, and they don't have a very strong online presence. Next slide, please. Additionally, we did a Pastel analysis. So this looks at the demands and the constraints of the outside world, and how that affects our goal of revitalizing their online presence. And what we found was that obviously COVID is a game changer, like it would be for any business. And what it really means specifically for Waltham Herbs is that it's more necessary than it may have been without COVID, because they were doing very well without a strong website before this. But now that it's uncertain how many times they'll be able to meet with customers in person and go to farmers markets, they can't rely on in-person sales anymore. So it makes it all the more critical that they get their online presence moving, and they may have to take more sacrifices and risks than they otherwise would have. Next slide, please. So the first way we went about brainstorming some possible solutions was by making a lotus blossom. Lotus blossom is this big chart that you can make to help break your challenge down into several different areas and try to generate a lot of possible actions you can take. So ours wound up giving us about 64 possible actions, and these are all minor, but they can be combined in many ways to make a bigger strategy and a bigger plan. So we wound up finding that using social media to network and continue their local presence was a very strong way to satisfy some of their weaknesses, as well as redoing their website and making sure that they're getting promoted in other journals and other websites as well. Next slide, please. Then we took a bit of a less conventional brainstorming method called the Proverb Method. For this one, you just take a sort of a classical wisdom proverb and try and extract something out of it. So we had, you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. And the purpose of this is to just give a philosophy to your strategy. So what we took away from it is that it can't just look nice. The solution can't just look nice. It needs to feel nice. It needs to feel warm and welcoming. And we try to keep that in mind when going about our solutions. Next slide, please. So the first solution we settled on was remodeling the website to be more engaging and user-friendly. Right now, their website is very informative, but it's hard to find the information. You can tell that they know what they're thinking and they know what they're doing, but it's hard for the customer to figure out exactly what they want, and it's hard to navigate the website. So we used a PMI table, plus minus interesting, in order to break down some of the factors that go into remodeling a website. The more professional it looks, the more user-friendly it is, the more engaging, the more positive experience that people will have, the more they'll want to come back and they'll feel welcomed when going onto the website. But obviously the minuses are that it does cost money, and this is a goal where cost is an issue. But on the interesting side, it does open a lot of hard to predict things, like reaching out to much wider scale and connecting with other online businesses that may complement the services. And we do feel that in the end, given the ramifications of COVID, it is worth the cost to remodel the website. Next slide, please. And additionally, our second solution was to use social media to build a brand, and specifically to build the brand around their community. So we used the force field analysis, another way to compare the pros and cons. And we found that the biggest strength that they may have on building a social media brand is that it is extremely affordable, and it offers a great way for them to maintain the sense of community that they work so hard to build in person, by posting things, advertising other local businesses, showing little craft tips and ways to care for plants. They can really keep that personal feeling that they pride themselves on in person, and help branch out to a younger demographic, which was another thing that the company was looking for. Next slide, please. And in the end, we decided that both of these solutions were worth tackling. Remodeling the website to be more user-friendly is necessary for them in this digital COVID world right now. And it is something that can help them for as long as they want to keep running the business. It may be a big upfront cost, but it should pay off dividends down the line. And then for a more affordable solution, they can build a brand on social media using platforms like TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook to build up and reinforce their sense of local community that they built. Because especially with younger people, that is an important factor that they want to see. And it's a local family-owned business, and we want to let people know that it's a family-owned business because people like supporting family-owned businesses. Next slide, please. And then as per the challenge, we did a brief reflection. Mostly what we found was that we were very happy with our project, and we think that the solutions will help the company if they choose to use them. Really, the issues that we went through were personal. We felt that we could have connected with the business more to get a more specific idea of what they may have wanted or been capable of. And given COVID, it was hard for us sometimes to meet and figure out who's doing what. But in the end, we did have a good project and we feel that we did well. Next slide. And thank you. That is our presentation, and that is how we stepped up to the challenge presented by Waltham Herbs. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me today. My name is Antonia Emily, and I'm proposing to you our solution towards low creative marketing. Next slide, please. So our agenda today is we look at first at the company Low Creative. Therefore, we get to know the company and what its value is. This leads us to explain the challenge and the reasoning of the purpose why we are here. So when I will then take you through our analyzing of the low creative clients and then brainstorming ideas we collected. And finally, I present to you our solution of low creative. Next slide, please. Low Creative does advertisement that you haven't seen. They specialize on rebranding and creating advertisement materials for schools to promote. So this way, the vision is to promote advertisement for schools that reflects the uniqueness of each individual schools they work with. Next slide, please. So therefore, our challenge was to find an alternative approach to develop promotional material for the company. This means that we needed to find marketing strategies that supported higher interactions. To ensure we find the right marketing strategies, we were able to meet them online and ask some questions. This led us to understand the real problem, as they have a professional website, they are active on social media, but they still don't get the interaction they wanted. So this means, next slide, please. We need to advertise material that creates awareness towards the website and the company overall, which now takes us to look further into the clients, as we want them to be attracted to our company. So of course we need to look within the budget that has been given to us. Next slide, please. So low creative clients are teachers in trust. The research has shown that the average teacher is 39-year-old, which leads to the conclusion that they haven't grown up with social media, and they like to research into a traditional way. So everyone who knows a teacher knows that they are hardworking and use their time with marking and preparing lessons. This means that they haven't got a lot of time to research. So therefore, we propose to you to mark in every step of a teacher's day. So on the way to schools, teachers usually drive. This means that we can put marketing within this section of the area. Next, then they, whilst being in school, they have breaks. So they usually continue marking or preparing lessons using teacher support websites for some inspiration. So some schools also look at have bus station shifts where teachers need to supervise the students to get safety on the bus. So after a long day, they drive home and they continue marking and preparing their lessons. So when they research into a specific company, they usually use LinkedIn. So this leads us to find advertisement opportunities by the petrol station, teacher support websites, bus shelters, and advertisement at the back of parking or shopping receipt, and clearly higher usage of LinkedIn advertisement. Next slides, please. So next, we evaluated and researched into the different solutions. Therefore, we created a table and with the main criteria leading to the final solution of, next slide. Advertisement on petrol station and teacher support website. So marketing where teachers are at least once a week helps to create consciously and unconsciously researching of advertisement. When the time has come, the schools will choose the best marketing company the UK has to offer. A little bit of neuromarketing here. We just support them in making the right decision. Next slide, please. So to conclude, we thought of why decide if we can have both online and offline to reach everyone. We would suggest that using both would provide the attraction low creative ones, as everyone who knows the teacher, and I'm sure we do, knows that they are very traditional and social media isn't a big part of their lives. But connecting with the future is important too. Even if these students are not the present, they surely are the future. This is why we also suggest that taking them on this journey through the social media should not be lacking in order to get brand awareness. But as for now, the focus is on the traditional teachers for the next 5 years. This means that neuromarketing can only take place when they are looking, so at the right time, so searching and planning. So advertising around March and April would be the most suitable time for low creative, as schools advertise around August, September. So therefore, using petrol stations near schools and teachers, supporting websites, will provide the attention low creative ones. Next slide, please. So finishing off, I just wanted to give some credit to the team who have been working towards the final solution, and it's been amazing to work with them. So thank you very much. Next slide. That's all for me. Thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions, just contact the team via Twitter. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Bradley Finch, and I was the team leader and in charge of presenting our challenge, which was the company in the laughter locker. Next slide, please. So what is the company in the laughter locker? Well, it's an individually run business based in Lincolnshire, and the business owner, Tess, herself made it very clear it's very much a business to spread positivity and happiness, promote customer satisfaction throughout her work, while having fun herself doing her job on a daily basis. Next slide, please. So the challenge we were presented with was the business owner really put forward the idea that she finds it hard to gain attention for the business online, considering that it's a very corporate-based business where she's offering laughter yoga sessions for mainly corporate clients, and she's invested heavily into the online side of the business with little to show for it. Next slide, please. So there was a clear lack of business presence on social media. It was very much a personal approach, with the website also very much unfinished, lacking professional look. So we really thought about that when it came to the deciding factors on a finish of what to do. Next slide, please. So the change in structure, we looked at the SWOT and furthermore the TOES matrix, thinking about the strengths and the weaknesses, opportunities and threats. When looking at the website, the strengths, it had very updated information. Although jumbled, there was information that was relevant, that clients would want to know. but there was little structure. When looking at the social media, there was a presence on most platforms. However, it lacked kind of consumer interaction. Next slide, please. So when brainstorming a solution, we looked deeper into the YouTube aspect as well, as she explained that she had a charity side of her business, which was separate but had success to a degree. Obviously YouTube is a free platform. It gets your business out there to a wider audience than paid versions would, rather. But then when looking at the website, it was a possible, definitely a possible choice for expansion, because the business owner herself even stating that it needs to be cleaned up. She wasn't happy with what she paid for, because she had a vision of what she wanted when she actually went in to upgrade the website. Next slide, please. So when we went to select a solution, we went between YouTube and the website. The YouTube aspect would reach a wide audience with it being a free platform. And obviously, they would give consumers an insight into the kind of work, the kind of product is provided, if they like it, if they don't like it. However, looking at the other side of YouTube, it would have taken a lot of time and input with uploading content, creating it, sometimes an hour, etc., with a regular upload schedule and a possible high startup cost. So then we looked at the website and we thought, well, it would create a professional platform. It would give increasing credibility to the company as a whole, and it would be low maintenance once it was created. Obviously, there will be a high startup cost, may need awareness to try and get people traction onto it. But the final solution which we decided on was the website and a remodeling of the website to make it look more professional, give a professional business platform for the company. Next slide, please. So to conclude, we picked the website as the final solution to remodel, to make it more user-friendly, inviting, organized, so that consumers, when they are attracted to the website, there's a clear order. They know where they want to go if they're interested in looking at samples maybe, or booking, etc. To have a clear set out of the website. Next slide, please. And that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Hello, we are just waiting for Maya's slides to load. Then we should be able to make a presentation.
Hello everyone, I'm Maya and I will be presenting on behalf of Team 3 for the challenge company Hemswell Antique Centres. My team consists of myself, Max, Saffron and Zoe. Here's a brief overview of the topics I will be covering throughout this short presentation, with the main talking points being centered around the feasibility of our solution, which will come into play a little bit later on. So, a little bit about Hemswell. They're a Lincolnshire-based company and have been established for 36 years and hold the notable title of being Europe's largest antique centre. The business model works through leasing space at their centres for dealers to sell their wares. During the challenge, they outlined a task which consisted of increasing brand awareness and sales, which when refined translated to attracting new customers. So with this in mind and the support of some guiding questions, we laid out some potential goals. In order to understand the key aspects of the challenge and its context further, the team decided to use the TOES matrix, which gave an overview of both the internal and external factors of the business. We deduced that Hemswell's biggest strength was its size, particularly the varied inventory they hold, and it's very much interdependent on what we see as their biggest opportunity, the potential to resegment with a focus on interior design and fashion to a greater extent than antiquity. In terms of weaknesses, we felt that the company being firmly rooted in a niche market was a drawback. They largely miss out on attracting a younger demographic despite having the intrinsic value increasingly eco-conscious generations purport to be essential. It is therefore a matter of positioning and branding. To this end, we feel that e-commerce is Hemswell's biggest threat on the basis that they're still at the beginning of their journey in terms of integrating technology seamlessly within their business. So our first sort of use of ideation, we used classical brainstorming, and that was to produce categories we thought would best aid Hemswell in their goal of increasing brand awareness, which, as you can see, is national market, international market, joint market, and social media. And then we opted to use the Lotus Blossom technique to clearly outlay our ideas. And as you can see, it was shared evenly that we all came up with 4 ideas. So, evaluating and selecting the solution. The team decided to choose the best 3 solutions based on market type, and then we went through the process of elimination using the advantage and disadvantage table, which showed us that venturing into the Asian market would be a huge endeavor and didn't really align with our vision of resegmentation. So the Augmented Reality App and showrooms were left, so we decided to use a radar chart to convey the relative importance of performance objectives. With the challenge having a particular focus on digitalization, the winner was clear. The Augmented Reality App won out in 3 categories. We estimated the cost of renovation with the showrooms to be quite high, as well as having losses from the buildings not being open due to the renovation as well. So this is a mock-up of what the Augmented Reality App might look like. It would allow prospective customers to sort of gauge how their product would look. So if they needed it to fit in a certain alcove or whatever, they could gauge that without having to sort of go see it in the shop. It's especially essential during the pandemic, and they have a massive online customer base, so it would be really useful for them as well. In terms of other pros, it gives Hemswell a unique selling point, and it's a cutting edge technology. And they'd be able to collect quite a few customer data metrics. The cons, however, there'd probably be growing pains on both sides, because it's such cutting edge technology from the developer side of it and customers as well, they'd have to get used to using it. So in terms of what it would look like to create this augmented reality app, you need a team of people. So this sort of makes up like the sort of amount of people you'd be looking at working. So we worked out roughly it'd be about 5 with the main, with the longest period being the prototype product stage. And in terms of cost, this is what we found. This is based on IKEA's own augmented reality app. So you might probably be able to do it a little bit cheaper than that, because obviously they do have a lot of income to spend in this kind of scenario. But yeah, that's roughly about the cost. And then so some project risks. There would, so cybersecurity and data leaks are a massive deal when it comes to mobile apps, and it's something businesses aren't necessarily usually aware of. So allocating like a portion of the budget to that would be essential, because having customers losing your faith in you is obviously not the best. And then obviously choosing the wrong development team as well. You'd probably be likely to employ freelancers. So the quality and price would definitely vary in terms of their capabilities. And then also the customer base might not be familiar with using that technology. So again, there would be this sort of like period of growing pains. And then lastly, some project alternatives. Within our solution, we realized that it standing alone wouldn't be as successful if it just stood alone. So we also came up with some alternatives, and that would be increasing the product portfolio on the website, as only a very small percentage of the products on Hemswell Antique Centres is actually online. Also, updating the website even more to make it in line with modern user interact. Oh gosh, I've lost it. Anyway, I'll move on to the next one. Sorry. Right. Okay. And then also take control of the social media strategy, like producing really high quality content and sort of tailoring it to each specific platform, thinking more along the lines of home design. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm an alumni from the University of Lincoln. I've been asked to give just a little presentation on the 21st century workplace and how this reflects with my experience of doing the project, and what my transition was to doing the project and now being in the career I'm in. So I did a project a couple of years ago, like Gary said. I was in a unique position because doing the project actually gave me a huge advantage when I was in the interview for the job. So I'm a fundraising and finance administrator at the Snowdrop project. Go to the next slide, please. And what I do there is it'd be lots of invoicing. I work as a charity, and the Snowdrop project empowers survivors of human trafficking. So it's all for a great cause. I do invoices and things like that. It's very related to my degree. We'll be marketing things for fundraising to raise for the clients we've got. And what happened when I did the project was, luckily, I managed to win this, but after listening to everyone speak today, they were so much more confident than I was, and I'm like, it was incredible. But luckily, I managed to get to that point, and I won it. And Axe Trust, which was the charity that I did my presentation on, reached out to me and asked if I could do a research project for them after I experienced the challenge, which was great for my CV. And that's actually what I took into the interview, saying, this is what I've done previously. I've worked with a charity, and I've done something within the industry. But yeah, I just want to speak about my role in particular. Like I said, I do the invoicing, raising money for charities. But there's also, I wanted to add Although my role is to help advance and develop the day-to-day efficiency and sustainability of a charity's fundraising and finances, I actually want to adapt and develop my role within the organisation. So as I'm only 22 years old, as soon as I got there, basically in the interview, to sell myself as best I could, I was willing to do as much as I could. You know, it's new. I only work 30 hours a week and I was very ready and I knew I wouldn't burn out. So my transition, I was ready to try to put everything I had. So my role can be external to just what there was initially on the contract. I do database things as well, developing new ideas, problem solving constantly. And it's so great. And I loved it because the charity, the project gave me an opportunity to have some experience in the real world and develop this into my role. Next slide, please. So, like I said, they wanted me to discuss the 21st century workplace and how the project actually develops to the real world and how it has for me. These are my personal experiences. And I believe that the students who will then go on to get jobs, hopefully in the like desired sector they want to be in, it might translate to them too. So initially I want to talk about critical thinking, and I've put a little picture on that was from a recent issue where the law had changed regarding the Nationality and Borders Bill. Now, we work with survivors of human trafficking, and this hugely affects them. And the reason I mention critical thinking is because I need to be able to have those discussions with the people at work about how this might affect us, how it might affect our clients and what we can do for the future. And this really developed during the project because we were able to analyze what the best idea was, how you could observe a situation, and you needed to evaluate the correct ways to work around it. To go on, for communication, this was huge as well. In the next slide, I'll mention this. You need to talk and ask so many questions, and when you're a part of a team, the exchanging of information is incredibly important because you're all working towards the same goal, which alludes to teamwork and collaboration. The project gives you a real sense of that. You do quite a lot of group projects at university, but there's nothing really unlike the project, which is real world, and you get to actually analyze a real company and the issues they have, and you get to suggest new ideas to a team you've got. And I think that's so good, and it provided me with a great opportunity to do that. And it now has just developed to where my role is now, where I work in a team constantly. I'd ask, what do you need? What can I do for you? Any ideas anyone has, and we can always talk and constructively criticize or develop ideas and grow together. And I think self-initiative is also an aspect of that. Obviously, I answer to quite a lot of people in my role. There's so many people that can give me ideas or something I can do for them. But I still need to set myself initiative. I need to prove to them what I can give, any external research I've done, and what I've thought about and the ideas I've got. And that is me using my initiative to develop my role and maybe create a more efficient workplace. And these are things that you will get doing this project. The final thing I put was adaptability. So, in a few of the presentations, we mentioned COVID. I think it was huge. It's been a huge problem recently. There's so many people, our clients, we offer a service. They do casework and counselling, and obviously our clients have been through so much trauma. It's so much better to be able to do that in person, to the counselling or the casework when you're trying to ring the DWP, but your client doesn't speak English, so you need translators. This is so much easier to do in person. Obviously, with COVID, you had to adapt and problem solve as best as you could. And as the challenges you had, the students had, you were faced with these different issues, and you had to adapt. So I think these all developing, but I think the skills I got from this project were so good, and now I can hopefully be much more confident in the workplace and be useful. Next slide, please. This is just personal to me, and it's something I've spoke about already, and I want to give, if there's any advice and the students want to take it on board, from a transition and trajectory to employment from university. So I know a lot of people do get worried, and I was so nervous. I was very lucky when I got this role, and I had those things on my CV from this project to give me an advantage. But one thing I want to put was academic theories you taught at university will gradually become instinct. During the project, when people were doing the SWOT analysis or the TOES and the PMI, these are all really, really good strategic ways to analyze things and models to use. And you were eventually, once you start doing your role, you may not have to present these in person, but you'll think about them. There's strengths and weaknesses to everything you do. And what you get at uni and the theories you've used will become instinctive because you can analyze what the strengths and weaknesses are without having to see it or without having to have the graph there. Another thing I wanted to mention was be inquisitive about everything and seek to learn anything that interests you. So for me personally, because I'm just doing fundraising finance, I'm not certain that's exactly or the only thing I want to do. It's my first role to do with my degree. But there's other aspects of data analysis that I really like. There's numbers and things like that. So I ask about everything. There's so many people of my colleagues that did immigration law, because we've got issues with asylum seeker claims, as all our clients have been trafficked. And that is really interesting to me. So I could diverge my career and ask you questions, and it really interested me, and you can, have a stab at it. You could really enjoy it. And also always strive to identify options and be prepared to demonstrate your capabilities and to create backup plans. This is something my brother instilled in me. I was lucky to have such great support networks in place and options and always backup plans, because you need them, because you never know what you want to do. You might start a new graduate role and maybe not enjoy it. And it's always good to look at your options. You may want to do a master's, analyze what the best things are for you. And this really makes sense in a workplace as well. And the final one is not in a controversial setting, which has a highlighted idea of what I mean by it. I put fake it till you make it. And this was something I was actually told when I was asked to present these slides in person. And I said, when all the students were so confident, I was not confident whatsoever when I did this. I was shaky, maybe still am. And I asked one of my colleagues, what is your best piece of advice? And she said, fake it till you make it. She spoke from her own experience, where she graduated and went straight on to do a PhD, her to teach, but she was teaching people 2 years younger than her, and she was incredibly scared and she didn't know what to do. And she realized she had to maybe put on a bit of performance. We've all got that confidence in us. And you might realize that when you go to a workplace, you might feel a bit like you've got imposter syndrome. There's people with 15 years, 20, 30 years experience around you. And you've got to ask yourself, what do I offer? And you have it in you to offer exactly what everything about you. You're confident you're here for a reason, and you've been accepted for that role for a reason. So my fake it till you make it is not a pretend, because you are that person deep down. Just like you're all very confident today, it means you can do it again. And if you weren't so confident, you can always reflect on this and realize I don't have to fake it forever. It's just one day. When I came to present, I was incredibly nervous and thought to myself, just put on a performance. It's what you've got to do. And once you've done it once, you can do it forever. So that's what I mean by that. But yeah, thank you for having me. It was great to listen to everyone's presentations. Just want to pass you back on to Gary. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you, Bakshim. Some great points there. And I think from me working in the university as I do and my colleagues, it's great to see a young man who's making strides following a successful study period with us. I'm going to use fake it till you make it. It's now Mika's theory, and it will appear in my next lecture series. So thank you very much for that. Thinking about the presentations we've seen as well, I just wanted to offer a word of thanks to those behind the scenes. You know who you are, but we've put you on the screen anyway. So Angela, Paul, Sarah, Trevor and Teresa, thank you very much. This would not happen without your support, your enthusiasm and your input. So many, many thanks. Going back to our students, I think the students, I would refer you to the comments box on the right-hand side of our screen that we're working from here. Some terrific comments about the content, the maturity of the presentations, and some really great points made. Not just academic as well, which I really love. It was about the relevancy to the organizations that you've been working with. And I'm sure the people on the screen at the moment have really benefited from your views and ideas. But now it's time to vote, and I don't envy all of you out there in doing this. So the voting button is there. You'll see you've got to rank them in order of priority. So as I said, please vote. During the voting process, to give you time to think, and it'll probably be 10 to 15 minutes, so please don't take too long thinking about that. I'd like to hand back to the director of the Lincoln International Business School, Dr. Craig Marsh, for his thoughts. So Craig, over to you.
That's great. Thank you so much, Gary. And before I kick off, what a wonderful series of presentations. I mean, the standard, every time I'm so blown away by the standard of our students' presentation. So let me just start by thanking all of the students who've presented this evening for taking such an effort to present such high quality presentations. And what wasn't it inspiring to hear Bashkim, who's gone out into the world of work and just making some of those links from the skills that he learned whilst he was on the challenge project that he's now putting in place. And I'll perhaps just come back to a couple of the points that he made. And I'm also aware that I'm the sort of filler slot for the evening while you're all voting. So I will make it relatively quick, and I will definitely be the worst presentation of the evening. There's no doubt about that. But what I wanted to do was really just to I think perhaps make a few connections, if I may, with our students and with our colleagues who are listening into some of the things that the university are thinking about and doing, and a business school. So, if somebody could pop my slides up, that'd be fantastic, and I can talk through a couple of them there. So, brilliant. The next slide, if that's okay. So just as a reminder what our mission is at LIBS, and I develop socially responsible leaders ready to meet the challenges of the 21st century business. And I'm sure everybody will agree with me that we are well on our way with this group of students. So impressive with the work that you've been doing for our businesses. But I deliberately echoed the word challenges in there. And I think that is indeed a reason why we included that in our mission statement, because actually what we're seeing with the challenge project is our students doing their best to meet those challenges of the 21st century business and equipping them in the way that Bashkim has just described for when they actually go out there and start doing what is becoming an increasingly complex world to navigate. And so there's a very strong link, I think, between what we're doing as our mission, what we all sign up to, the reason why we're here as a business school, and what we're doing with this particular project. And for me, this project is both the present and the future of the university, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the future of the university while I have the opportunity. So if you just move to the next slide, please. Now, this is an incredibly busy slide, but if you notice the date on this was from yesterday. So as everybody's probably aware, we have a new Vice-Chancellor, and we're just developing our thinking about what this university is going to look like over the next 5 years. And I literally took this out of a note that the Vice-Chancellor sent yesterday, where he's talking about what he believes should be at the heart of the next University of Lincoln strategy. So I'm just going to highlight, and I've put in bold, some of the things that Neil has been talking about that he wants us to be as a university, and you'll see there. Of course, sector leading, quality of teaching. Now, the quality of teaching isn't just about how we teach as a faculty, but also about how our students work with us on the teaching. So we've got a great example here, I think, of the future of teaching, where the students are doing, as Herbert presented at the start, starting with a big idea, developing ideas and solutions using techniques for that, working closely with businesses, and both benefiting both theory and practice. So you're learning stuff about how models work, but also how they apply to real life problems. Embedding content in our degrees and courses, leading to excellent graduate outcomes. Well, translate graduate outcomes into somebody like Bashkim. This is what we're doing. This is what we're passionate about. And of course, we have this content now, this idea of the challenge-based learning built into how we educate our students. Picked out the importance of partnership with major employers. I mean, particularly at a business school, of course. But it's great, and thank you so much for the organisations that have brought these challenges to our students. It just makes such a difference and adds so much value to the experience that we can give them. Many of my faculty, including my colleagues who are here this evening, have that business experience, but there's nothing quite like you being able to come to us, work with us, and be able to work on us developing solutions with you. So that's also going to be critical for us over the next 5 years. And here we are, this is part of it. Cross-disciplinary activity and regionally relevant. Well, regionally relevant, I think, almost goes without saying. But the cross-disciplinary one is an interesting one, isn't it? That the idea that what's at the heart of challenge-based learning is it's not necessarily targeted to a particular academic discipline. You almost inevitably have to bring in cross-disciplinary skills to be able to work on challenge-based learning. And that cross-disciplinary, when you're in business, things aren't presented as an easy solution in marketing or sales or logistics or finance. They tend to come at you as problems involving all of those things. That's also really critical to what we're doing. Transferring knowledges to organizations. Here we are. So this is also going to be a big part of who we are as a university in the future. And then finally at the bottom, really at the sense of 4.0, of course, digitally enabled in the way that we deliver our services to students. So this is also really at the heart of the 4.0 challenge. So what we can see is that all of these things, that's what I mean by the Challenge 4.0 project is not just present, it's also right at the heart of the future of what we want to be as a university. So it's just really, really encouraging to see our students participating so fully in it. Next slide, please. So I'm going to just turn my attention to some of the things that Bashkim was highlighting already. Actually, this is a survey. World Economic Forum have done a Future of Jobs survey in 2020, and this is a trend survey that they did. So they're asking employers, seeing what's going to be coming up in the next 5 years. What are the changes in your requirements for the people who work for you in terms of skills? So you can see the left-hand side, you've got the decreasing in importance, and on the right-hand side, increasing importance. So you could run at the top of the list. I mean, we've mentioned it a couple of times. Bashkim, this was the top of your list. Critical thinking, analysis. You gave a really good example in your own organization right now of how you've applied those critical thinking skills, and organizations saying increasing importance from the people that we want to recruit. And then you have these real transferable skills that our students are learning in this Challenge 4.0. Problem solving, self-management. You've all been demonstrating that in spades, haven't you? We kind of set the project for you, we guide you, but you really have to take this on and deliver it for yourself. Working with people, that ability to collaborate towards a common solution. Often one of the most difficult things I remember actually as a student is that collaboration across a team, right? And me being able to work towards a common objective, which you've been learning. And then if you look down at the bottom, and you can see those cross transferable skills, core literacies and physical abilities. So core literacies are, in a sense, the discipline specific skill that you have. It's always going to be important. It's always going to be a necessary condition for future jobs, but it is becoming less and less important from an employer perspective versus those real transferable skills that you're learning through something like the Challenge 4.0 project. So those are some of the trends. Now, we've done something with this in our own programs, and I just want to put one more slide up about skills, which just highlights that. So the next slide, please. So the next slide shows the top 15 skills for 2025. So coming up in 3 years, we worked with a 3-year plan at LIBS. And what we're doing at LIBS is, and I'm not going to repeat these because these are some of the things that we've already been talking about. But what we're doing at LIBS is making sure that our curricula are evaluated in how well they develop these skills in our students. And the Challenge 4.0 project is a really good example of that. And again, you can see what these skills are. Bashkim was talking about active learning. Well, there you go. Number 2, complex problem solving. At number 3, critical thinking. There it is again. Innovation, creativity, leadership, social influence, technology use, technology design, resilience, emotional intelligence, systems thinking, persuasion. So, these are things that we're now making sure that are absolutely the forefront of our teaching. And you can see just how these have been developed and thought through all the way through the Challenge 4.0 project. So there's a connection between our curriculum, how we're expecting our students to be learning with us, and some of the things that the World Economic Forum, that the employers are saying need to be done. So we're really trying to forge those connections, and the Challenge 4.0 really is at the heart of that. And the next slide, please. And finally, and thank you to Herbert for this. Herbert and Gary have been writing a paper on Challenge 4.0 about some of the things that 4.0 develops. And actually, what it comes down to is really, really effective learning. Now, the Kolb learning cycle should be familiar to many of you, so there's nothing new about that. But actually, the 4 areas of the Kolb learning cycle, starting with concrete experience, doing or something, reflecting on that experience, reflective observation, abstract conceptualization, and then active experimentation. Kolb defined as a theory of learning that says you have to go through all 4 of these cycles really to go through a deep learning process. You can probably see how each of these, in various ways, is being reflected in the Challenge 4.0 project. And what Herbert has been doing has been interviewing former students who've been through the project and really just identifying precisely where these things are mapped to the Challenge 4.0 project. I'm not going to talk about them now. All I wanted to do is just to highlight how at the heart of the challenge-based learning project, the effectiveness of the learning that is developed from that really is backed up by theory, and it really just illustrates how we managed to tackle each of these 4 areas of the Kolb learning cycle, which to those of us in education, really familiar territory, but it's actually quite rare, as my colleagues will attest, that we managed to get a particular project that deals so effectively with all 4 elements of the cycle. And here we are in the Challenge project. So a link to the university strategy, a link to the future of the university, a link to our mission and what we're doing with our curriculum, and a link to the effectiveness of learning. That's why I'm saying that the Challenge 4.0 project is so important for us, and really is at the heart of what we are and who we are as a university. So final slide, please. Just a final thing before we go to the results. Somebody's going to have to win. I do realise we are seeing the 5 finalists this evening, but I just wanted to thank all of our participants, both our students and our organisations, our partner organisations who brought this. Thank you to my team who put so much effort into making this happen. And as Gary alluded to, a lot of work that goes into not just this evening, but of course the whole project. So sincere thank you to all of my team who did it. And of course, finally, many congratulations to all of the participants, not just the finalists. But unfortunately, there does have to be a winner. Hopefully, I have talked long enough, Gary, to allow you to analyse results and get to a decision. Otherwise, you will have to carry on talking yourself, which I know is not usually a challenge for you. So I'll hand that back to you now, Gary.
Thank you very much, Craig, and thank you for being our. We couldn't get Ed Sheeran to sing a song, so you were the next guest.
I'm so glad you didn't ask me to sing. That's for sure.
Right, as they say in Strictly, the results are now in. We have joint 4th, so I'll announce them in no particular order. Joint 4th place is Team G2, Jessie and her colleagues with Waltham Herbs, and joint 4th as well, Team C1, Bradley and his team in the Laughter Locker. 3rd place, getting exciting now, 3rd place is Team B2 with Lewis and his team's work at Hemswell Antique Centres. And who's second? Well, in 2nd place, it is Team, I'll pause now, A1. So Team A1, Antonia, and their work at Law Creative. So that must mean, by a process of elimination, that Mayor with Team A3 and their work with Hemswell Antique Centres is declared first. I wouldn't say the winner, Craig. I think they're all winners. But
that's a great way of putting it, Gary.
Well done to Maya. Well done to her team. Well done to everybody. What a terrific set of results. And there they are for everybody to see.
That's amazing.
I've certainly enjoyed the evening. Craig, could I ask you for a few closing comments, please?
Yes, certainly. Thank you, Gary. Many congratulations to Maya and the team. And I was particularly struck. I didn't vote, colleagues, just so you know. I left it to you all to vote. But your AR solution, I thought, was really on point for this particular project, for this particular solution. I hope that our colleagues at Hemswell also felt that too. I really was struck by that really creative and innovative solution, technology enabled. So well done, Maya and your team. Worthy first place. But again, as Gary says, just let's make sure that we really just celebrate all of our students who've presented this evening. And you are proud of all of you. We really are, of all of the work that you've done. And thank you so much to all of you and everybody for participating in our presentations this evening. Thank you so much.
Around 20% of the North Sea region's population live in rural areas, where a larger share of businesses are small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs. These businesses could be vulnerable to many uncertainties and challenges that digital transformation poses to them. This could include the struggle to keep up with the rapidly developing technologies, lack of awareness of their digital needs and potentials, access to new markets, scaling up, and cooperation in a transnational environment. To help SMEs to overcome these challenges, a change of mindset is needed. This is where the UOL 4.0 Challenge comes into play. UOL 4.0 Challenge is a project that runs in collaboration with the University of Lincoln, Com3, North Sea Region Partners, Business Lincolnshire, as well as the local SMEs. The project involves SMEs presenting their digital challenges to the University of Lincoln students from the Operations Management module. The students then work collaboratively to develop a theoretically underpinned idea which could help to improve SMEs' potential for adoption of digital technologies and implementations of Industry 4.0. The students would then present this idea to participating SMEs and academics. It's then up to the SMEs to choose the digital solution that would work for them and decide whether to implement it or not. If you're a local business and have a digital challenge that our students can help you to solve, then please email ulchallenge@lincoln.ac.uk. Are you ready?